Before we get started, I want to set up a bit of a frame with you. Imagine your grandparents waking up in their midlife, say about 30 years ago, and your grandparents hadn't yet met. Do you think that they're going to meet in the same circumstances back then as people do today? No, right? Do you think they might have slightly different perspectives? Because when they were dating, the times and the values of the times back then were much, much different than they would be today. Yeah? So I set this frame because a very timeless piece of advice came from this era, your grandparents' era, that still is passed around today. It's a lot like your mother's advice of not going outside because your hair is wet, you'll catch a cold. Mom said, don't go outside, your hair's wet, actually because you look like a fool. She's saying to clean your face, get organized, and then go outside. The true intention behind the advice became blurred. Now, several years ago, a very old woman, a psychologist, wrote a very particular book that became a bestseller. Now, in this book came this idea of no contact. Now, I'm not going to go deeper into the shortfalls of much of the field of psychology, but it's like relying on the work of Freud today and ignoring this century of work in progress that came after him. Okay, there's outdated concepts in psychology that get renewed, and the original intention was blurred, and it's taken out of the context of the times. For example, this idea of conscientiousness. Okay, conscientiousness is this term from a leading theory of individual personality. It's of a personality trait that is essentially self-driven and self-organizing. Now, Angela Duckworth ripped this idea of conscientiousness from psychology and twisted it for commercial intent. And she renewed it by calling it grit. And as a matter of fact, I just heard somebody drop that word this afternoon. All respect to her. So what I really want to level with you, that sometimes we get ideas that sound great on paper and the theory seems solid, yet in real world today, it just doesn't cut it. Yet I see this dangerous piece of advice of no contact being tossed around so casually, so effortlessly. Because where do these other TikTok and YouTube and dating specialists get their commercialized marketing and commercialized communication from? They just go and look at what else is being accepted as advice. What else is safe to talk about that they can use as material? The advice that they're giving out is essentially learned from a book. Essentially, hey, flat earthers have a book. So if you want to get your advice from books and instead of from real-time successful relationships, ignore this video. And just to really level set here, the following advice is going to come from a very different paradigm, a place where games aren't needed, a place where tactics and techniques are just ways to avoid the real conversation that needs to be had, a place where full personal responsibility is taken for any situation in life. It's a lot like instead of joining the riots and arguing with the world to clean up their mess, it's taking a look at the most important mess in front of you for you to go clean up first. You know, imagine how two people can argue for 100 years about how the other person should go clean up their life. I doubt nothing would ever be produced, not in 100 years. If one person would just abandon this lunacy, go find a mess in their own life that needs cleaning up and actually clean it up, something will finally have been produced. I also suspect the other person left standing there with nobody to argue with would get bored, find a mess, clean it up. Yet it seems like if the world would just stop trying to get other people to clean up their messes and simply go clean up the mess in their own home, the world would clean up. Where you do certain things and you act from a certain viewpoint, when you do things in a specific way, you can just skip over a lot of the generic advice because it no longer applies, because you're playing at a very different level. And the reason why I use this analogy, because when someone follows the advice to go no contact, this person is essentially pausing the personal responsibility for the mess in their relationship at home. And they are pushing that mess right under the rug. And the way no contact works is if you ignore the mess for a set period of time, say 30 days. I don't know about you, but in my house, if I don't take the trash out for a few days, it really begins to stink. It has good intentions, but it has serious drawbacks. So let's cut the metaphor here and begin talking directly to no contact. Now, the reality is today, what's essentially going on? We all do this on some level, and it's accelerated by social media. There's often a pull away or a breakup before the actual breakup. There's a period of time before the split where a man doubts where he is investing his energy and his time. He's weighing his options. He is considering where he will be and where he wants to be in the future. If a man spent a significant amount of time with a woman, more than a few months, he's getting a benefit from this on some level. Something is keeping him there, that is satisfying him, that he enjoys, that he continuously returns to in his life. There's some good there that he doesn't want to let go of. Yet, by holding on, he's looking at the trade-offs. Same way when a woman breaks up with a man. This is different when there's an affair or some level of infidelity. Granted, that's not the case. Both held the expectations of the relationship. When he finally leaves, no contact is his window to capitalize on the trade-offs that he wanted. So what happens is the breakup happens. No contact gets established. Men get this advice too. They're told to move on and they're told to start new. They're told that their relationship is full of red flags that they simply didn't catch at the beginning. They're told that it's time to let her go. It's time to recapture their masculinity and the strong behavior which he lost touch with, which is what caused the breakup to fail or the relationship to fail. There's a strong emphasis on growth and also a neglect of their shortcomings. Because instead of standing firm and facing their true problems in the relationship as a couple together, he leans into avoidant behavior. He avoids the issue. He avoids the mess that's been swept under the rug and simply looks for greener pastures disguised as growth. Now, there's only two outcomes, and neither are appealing nor attractive. One, he goes and meets his trade-offs. He goes and entertains, excites, and even seduces some or even multiple other women. He's a new bachelor, yet it's lashing out. He's coming from a very dark place. He's numbing his pain, and he realizes he's not any happier. And he returns to what is comfortable to him, what is familiar. Or second, he goes out and he realizes he's not as desirable in the marketplace as he thought or hoped he could be. It's not the fun, exciting, and meaningful pursuit of self-discovery and self-realization as he fantasized about what it would be. And he feels that he still has enough control over his ex that his ex becomes his safety net. Now, sometimes there is a blend where he is sleeping with other women, yet it's not the quality that he wants. And he realizes he's simply trading one set of problems for another. He realizes all women will bring him some level of happiness and some level of unhappiness. And he decides which set of problems he prefers to tolerate. And typically, no contact only works successfully and for the long term, if you will, when it's the pure second option. When it's the bitter reality for the man that this is it, and it's a hard reality to accept for a woman. She often doesn't think about it, and the people producing the no contact advice never mention this. But the reason he stays is because he cannot get anyone else. So he realizes how much more time he's wasting. How much extra energy he's putting into this now. How much more uncomfortable that he truly is. And he says, you know what? What the hell am I doing? I had a great woman. We had a lot of great memories. What the hell was I thinking? This is crazy what I'm trying to do. And not too much longer afterwards, all of a sudden, she receives a text. So before we move on, you might be wondering, well, what if it's the first option? First, your ego is going to be hurt if he confesses that he has been with other women. Your desire for exclusivity and control over him is going to be at conflict with the reality of the relationship. You'll feel jealous, and eventually you'll come to understand it as jealousy. It will feel like an electric jolt in your gut if he confesses and admits he'd slept with another or multiple other women, especially if there is a longer period of no contact between the breakup. My advice, let it go. Jealousy doesn't get anyone anywhere. It's an old, outdated concept. It's a very funny one in the sense that it's so irrational, so easily debunked, and so unproductive, yet it holds so much weight. It's our small tribal past coming through, which is a topic for another video. This is why it's key to understand his true intentions and where he's coming from when he wants to get back into a relationship before you accept to take him back. In my system at passionprotocol.info, to rapidly get an ex back, we cut out the no contact phase because it's only going to put more space between a couple and it completely ignores the underlying reason the relationship failed. More, it's up to you to actively set the right frames that allow him to come back to maintain the mutual expectations of the relationship. I mean, we can talk all day about everything else, but the underlying dark side of no contact is that you ignore the mess. And he's going to come back in some way or fashion, and that mess is going to be there. And now it's really going to stink, especially because you're not going to have him coming back with the right frame, with the right expectation that you both are not going to run from this. You both are going to stand strong together and work through this as a couple. Ideally, women have the strong, secure, emotional bond with a man that allows him to feel safe to open up so that you can handle his doubts. You are actively rooting out his concerns before the pre-breakup, which makes this whole transition process completely unnecessary. Before it happens all over again for you, only this time with a new man as you continue on into a new relationship. So that is the dark side of no contact. If you found this video eye-opening, enlightening, smash the love button. Share it with someone that you know who could use this video, and make certain to subscribe so that you stack all the advantage in your favor when it comes to men. Because once you get past these 2 points, A, there's some level of dissatisfaction with you, but he just can't find a better alternative, or option 2, you are his best bet. Underneath all of this are the reasons why the relationship did not work out. And until those underlying reasons, the true reasons, the hidden reasons are addressed, that relationship will continue to be dysfunctional. And the reality is, until those underlying reasons are addressed and you have awareness in yourself and in I suppose, your partner as well, unfortunately, those will continue to haunt you as you decide to move on and into a new relationship. They will surface again. All right, that's it for this video. Look out for the next one. I'll talk to you soon.